What's the horizontal thing?
Oh, like in film it in landscape.
So, that's it. So,
So he thought it meant out in a landscape. So I did a video of him just, stoned in like a bush, like,
yeah.
playing guitar, and it's horizontal.
It's still horizontal.
So anyhow, but then, yeah. So that's how that video came up.
Welcome back to another episode of Sam Sessions. We're back here in the Acoustic A Room of South Austin Music. Another special day as always. A lot of people packed in the room today. To my right, we got Wylie Hubbard, hosted by the world's worst interviewer.
Well, we'll see about that.
Yeah, we're about to find out, aren't we, Ray?
Yeah, we'll see if we can prove it.
How you doing today? You having a good day?
I'm doing good, man. I'm finally so glad to finally be able to come here and do this.
I
I've heard so
know.
much about it. It's just a great thing that for South Austin music, but for the musicians and Austin, so it's a good thing. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, man. We've been hounding you, trying to get you back here. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, well,
It
I'm
really
looking forward
is.
to it. So
Awesome.
What do you want to know?
Well, to start off, I know you have this crazy, insane musical career. So let's talk about you being an author a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, do that. Yeah.
So you wrote this book and released it. You released it in 2015, and the title of the book is A Life Well Lived.
Well, you got to do it with punctuation. A life ... well, comma, live. So it comes across supposedly a life well lived.
Yeah.
And
I noticed that. I like that.
I'm a great believer in punctuation when you can use it to confuse people.
Right, exactly. So really, the first thing I wanted to know about the book was what exactly made you interested in writing a book?
Oh, my friend Tom Jurek, who writes for All Music Guys, was a great music critic. He somehow just emailed him a story about something with Muddy Waters and Omaha or something. He said, that's a great story. And I said, well, you think that's great? Willie Nelson once kidnapped me. And he said, well, let me hear that. So I started kind of writing all these road stories. And so I wrote everything, but I actually gave Tom Jurek because he kept poking me with a stick to get me to do it. And he'd say, why don't you do it like this, where you use real punctuation, kind of talking about your life, and then just free form, no capitalization about kind of some of these road stories, and put some songs in there that are kind of appropriate. So it just, it was just kind of one of those things. I just kept doing it, and he kept poking me with the sticks and, come on and do it. And so then it all kind of came together, and the book was real short. So then I said, well, Judy, don't you have something you could write? And so she'd written a thing for a Texas Music Magazine about kind of her life and how she got into the business of taking care of me and getting in the business. So that's how the whole book came. The hardest part of the book was the photos, because there was a photo I've got, like you want to put photos of you and famous people, right? So there's a photo of me and Judy and Willie Nelson. I go, oh man, it's me and Willie. But then I look and we both have mullets. So I go, I can't use that. But I put it in there anyway. So that's how the book kind of came about. And then we just kind of did it, decided to do it ourselves,
Yeah. That's cool. I'm curious, like, how did the nerves compare to releasing a record and releasing a book? Is it pretty similar? Do you not feel nerves for either one?
Well, we were pretty in-house with Judy and I. Judy used to work in the car business up in Dallas, and all of a sudden we got married, and she realized that, well, if I can sell a Pinto to somebody, I'm pretty sure I can book you. And so she kind of came in and like I say, together, she kind of came in and started doing the business. So we've done I feel very fortunate, and I've mentioned this before, that I sleep with the president of my publishing company, which is Judy. And so she says, you write whatever you want to write. You make the records you want to make. She says, I'll try to sell the damn thing. So for a writer, that's a great place to be, to have that freedom to write about, anything. But as far as, I guess, releasing a record and doing a book, we kind of it's kind of the same thing, you know. We
Mm-hmm.
just kind of let people know what's out there.
Interesting. Is there a certain snippet from the book or a piece of knowledge or maybe just a story that you would tell people to get them interested in
You,
reading the whole
you
thing?
got the book there?
I wish I did. I wish I
Well,
did.
there's a thing there. You know, like I say, I talk about my life being born in Oklahoma and then moving into Dallas and my family, and then getting in high school. I was at an assembly and a talent show. When I was in the audience, this guy came out and he said, "Here's Michael Murphy, who was a cheerleader." He came out and said, "Here's a song that I wrote," and all of a sudden I realized that's the guy whose name's in the parentheses on the record underneath the songs. That's the songwriter. And so that you know, got me into it. And what was the question?
Well,
No.
I'm just curious. There's got to be some crazy stories in the
Oh,
book, or
okay.
maybe a snippet,
Yeah.
or just like a piece of knowledge.
Well, okay. So anyhow, like I say, and then also in the book, besides the road story stuff like that, I also kind of tell how, you know, I kind of came out of this honky tonk fog when I was 41, and decided I wanted to be a real songwriter. And in order to do that, I needed to learn to finger pick, because that was the songwriters I really liked. You know, I knew I could never be Doc Watson, but the guys like Dylan and Towns and you know, those guys, Chris Thompson, would finger pick. So at age 42, overcame this fear of embarrassment and took guitar lessons from a guy named Sam Swank to show me how to put my fingers and thumb where to go and when they're supposed to be there.
Interesting.
So that was that kind of turned it around and got me back into in songwriting for real. But also in the book I talk about kind of how I turned it around, because you know I'd kind of, I tell it in the book, I didn't really have much of a career at that point. You know, I mean, I was, you know, but so, in fact, I didn't have any career at all. But how I kind of turned it around, and I talk right in the book about kind of what I did of like setting goals and what I had to do in order to like, you know, become more of a real songwriter. And so I talk about that. And also I talk in there too, like if you're a young musician, and, you know, I give some advice, you know, like if you're a young musician and you know, you don't have a good guitar, you know, well, what do you do? Well, you go to your girlfriend's dad and you say, if you buy me a Gibson J45, you'll never see me again. So there's advice like that in the book.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, I asked about like a piece of knowledge. What would you say is the difference between knowledge and wisdom?
I think knowledge is stuff that you have to learn, and I think wisdom is stuff that you kind of intuitively know. Does that kind of make sense?
Comes
in a
with
way?
experience,
I
maybe.
guess so. Yeah. If you
Yeah.
just you know, just and like I say, you learn from mistakes, I think,
Right.
too. And so anyhow, like I say, knowledge is something that you really, you have to learn how to do this, and wisdom, I think, is just something that you intuitively know after experience
Mm.
and mistakes
Mm-hmm.
that you come to know intuitively, I think.
Of course. The reason I ask is I saw you're pretty active on Twitter, which is something we don't get to always see. I was
Yeah.
wondering, is there a specific reason you go on Twitter and you know, talk to your fans? Because like I said, it's not something I always see with.
Well, it's an opportunity to really, you know, be funny and snarly, you know, and so without a lot of repercussions, I would think. But no, it's fun for me. And I'll you know, I kind of started off, you know, kind of messing with, you know, Hayes or somebody, you know, making a comment about them and just, you know, and have fun. So I enjoy it. You know, it's something doesn't take a lot of time. I just kind of look at that and
Yeah.
just write whatever I want to write, you know.
Yeah, I gotta say I'm a big fan of your Twitter page.
Oh, well,
It's
good.
pretty hilarious. But yeah, I brought up the whole wisdom thing because you said first rule of wisdom is don't pay for wisdom.
Yeah, you know, yeah.
When I first read it, I was like, well, thank God, that makes me feel better about not being in college. But
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to. Well, you know, it's a thing to. Yeah, it's things you learn. You know, I guess, you know, and I think somebody tweeted like, I would pay $8 to have dinner or something with Ray Wylie to learn his wisdom. And I go, well, first you don't pay for it.
Yeah.
You just, so yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing for sure. Your song, "Conversation for the Devil."
Yeah.
What kind of inspiration did you draw to make that song?
Well, it's one of those actually Dante's Inferno, the Paradise Lost. My dad was a teacher and a principal when I was a little kid, and so I feel very fortunate, or unfortunate that instead of reading me at bedtime The Three Little Pigs, he'd read The Raven, and he got me into literature really early, and I would have to read the classics, A Tale of Two Cities and Robinson Crusoe, and so literature has been very, very important to me. And so I read a lot, that's really important. That's I don't, like I say, it's still important for me to do that.
Do you think the fact that you read so much and had those kind of, instead of the Three Little Pigs, it was the Raven, being read to you, do you think that it's allowed you to be a better songwriter?
I think so. Like I say, with Conversation with the Devil, it was just like a dream, and the whole idea of being and using songwriting to be able to say some things that if I said them, people would get really upset, but all of a sudden the devil said it, so it's in a song, so that gets me off the hook. But no, it really is really a lot of songwriters, a lot of young guys will come up and ask me about songwriting. Well, not a lot, a few. I think there's maybe one, but but the thing I tell them, I say, don't just listen to Springsteen's The Ghost of Tom Joad. Read The Grapes of Wrath and see where he was inspired to write that. You know what I mean? So I think reading is very, very important. And I like books. I got Kindle and all that, but I still like to read books.
Actual books.
So yeah, I think that reading for me is very, very important. It helped me appreciate the language.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would certainly say it takes a true lyrical genius to come up with the lines. I don't do cocaine to get high. I do it because I like the smell of it. I mean, that's Springsteen. Who I say?
Wasn't that an old Rodney Dangerfield quote?
I don't. I probably heard it somewhere, but it's a thing we used to say. And I don't know if I can name who said it first or where I heard it. But yeah, I think and that's the thing too about songwriting. You kind of put with Conversation with the Devil. I get to put these little lines, kind of like little punch lines at the end of each verse, and put it back. Like the real reason I started writing that song. So I hate to get back with my wife Judy, but it's actually her quote. Some get spiritual because they see the light, and some because they feel the heat. And I always just kind of had that line there, and then the cocaine line, and then some other stuff. So then just kind of just fitting the pieces of the puzzle together to do that. So yeah, it's but like I say, that it's amazing too, and that songwriting is inspiration plus craft. The inspiration, you go, aha, that'd be a good idea for a song. Okay, I'll write a song about a dream of going down into hell and talking to the devil, or like, aha, that, whatever, and then you take that and couple it with a craft of like, well, what do I do with this and how do I do it? Is it a 12-bar blues? Is it a folk song? Is it have a bridge? So they really work together, inspiration and craft, and that's how that song just kind of came.
Yeah.
I think I wrote it pretty quick too.
Yeah. Does that one fall into like top 3 favorite to perform on stage?
I haven't done that lately.
Really?
It's kind of like you write a song and a new one, and then some of them fall by the wayside. So I'll still put it out every now and then, but I don't do it every gig. It's like, for a long period of time, the only song I was known for was Redneck Mother, right? I mean, I wrote Redneck Mother when I was 20-something, and Jerry Jeff recorded it, and actually put this song is by Ray Wylie Hubbard, and that's the only thing I know for. And I go to these old honky tonks, I'd walk on stage, they go, play Redneck Mother, and I'd play Redneck Mother, and they go, and I'd go, here's another song I wrote. They go, play Redneck Mother again. so it was the only thing I was known for, which Redneck Mother, fits in the arsenal now. But so because I feel like that I've got arsenal that works, that I can pull these songs out. So I don't do that every gig. I still can, but I just, depends, kind of depends on the gig.
Right, right. So do you tweak your set list for every show, or?
I don't really do a set list. I
Okay.
kind of, as Lucas will tell you, I kind of know what the first 4 songs are going to be and kind of the last 3. So it's kind of depending on the crowd, kind of, say, okay, this is kind of, and then in the middle, we can just kind of do whatever feels, right.
Yeah. And Lucas is sitting off to the side over here. I got to ask you, is it hard to keep up with that kind of formula on stage?
Sometimes, I mean, he'll kind of pull a song out of the hat. Someone will, yell out like surfer. What's the surfer girl or some obscure song. And me and Kyle are kind of just looking at each other, and it's kind of like on the Titanic. Who's the best seat on the Titanic, but we trip through it.
Yeah.
He'll yell out the key and
Well, it's like I say with Kyle Snyder and Lucas. Lucas has been playing with me for, gosh, I guess when he first was about 15, I think, and he played with me. And it was great. He's 15. He was playing lead guitar with me. It was really great for about 2 years till he found out the other guys in the band were getting paid. What? Are you paying those guys? Yeah. Well, what about, well, you're still auditioning. And I said, then after that, it's Mom. And then but no, it's, but like I say, I have with Lucas and Kyle and have that ability that I can throw them a curve and they'll still, knock it out of the park. That they're accomplished musicians, or they can do that. They can play that. So yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. So you have a music video and a song release called Bad Trick, and it's packed with guys like Joe Walsh and Ringo Starr.
Yeah.
What was the energy like when you were creating the song and when you were shooting that music video?
Well, I actually wrote the song with my wife, Judy. I had this rough gig, man. It was just a really drunk, wild crowd, and the sound was squealing, and the promoter was kind of sketchy, and there was a discrepancy in the head count and the back end. It was just. So I got back home about 3, and my wife Judy goes, "How was the gig?" And I say, "Man, it was a rough gig." And she goes, "Well, everybody turns a bad trick every now and then." And I went, "Okay." so we know what I am. We just got to negotiate the price. And so anyhow, we wrote the song just with just different ideas. It was just a chance just to say things, Club soda don't always remove ketchup stains, just the different lines, and we wrote it, and then I actually, got a text from Brent Carpenter, who does all the videos for Ringo, who introduced me to Ringo, and Ringo said he'd play drums on a track next Tuesday in L.A. at 2:00, so I flew out there and went to his studio at his house. And he lives in Beverly Hills, and it's really nice. It's not a big mansion; it's just a cool house. Mm-hmm. And it was just there with Bruce Sugar, his engineer, and Ringo, and we did the track. And then I mentioned this too: is after we did the track, he said, "Who are you going to get to play bass?" And I said, "I don't know." He said, "How about Don Was?" And I said, "Well, I don't know him." He said, "I'll ask him." And so they said, "Are you going to get to play guitar?" And I said, "I don't know." He said, "Well, I asked my brother-in-law, Joe Walsh." And I said, "Okay." So at that point. And then I called up Chris Robinson, and I said, "Man, I got a beetle and an eagle. I need a crow." And so he said, "Yeah." And so we did the video. I actually did the video there at Ringo's studio, and I used the Gibson SG guitar with the different deals that he was on the wall there, and we did it there with Ringo. And then right at that time, COVID was starting to hit, and so then Brent Carpenter put the video together where he had Joe Walsh in the same studio, and Don was there. And then we called up Chris and said, "Could you?" Lucas called him up and said, "Could you do the video?" What'd you say? What's the horizontal thing?
Like film it in landscape.
Still, I said,
It meant out in a landscape. So I get a video of him just, stoned in like a bush.
Yeah.
Sorry, and it's horizontal.
It's still hard.
So anyhow, but then, yeah. So that's how that video came up. You didn't have to go all that detail, though.
Film it in landscape. Well, which landscape, dude?
Just outside in a field.
My friend's got a ranch. We can probably do his.
So yeah, that's a video.
Oh
Anyway,
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, because that's like, so you said, tell Chris we need a video. And so he said landscape. I didn't know what that meant either, to tell you the truth. But yeah. But yeah, it was really, really gracious of those guys to do that, to be a part of it. And like I say, to have a was and a beetle, an eagle, and a crow on the same track. There's not a lot of people have that ability to shame people into doing it, I guess. But no, they've been really, really, really nice to
It's an amazing song. And the music video kind of takes place in a house. Was that the house that you were talking about?
Yeah, that's Ringo's studio there.
It's cool because it definitely shows that it came about naturally, and that kind of shows itself in the song.
Yeah, he's just been really, really great to me.
That's cool. That's really good. So real quick, you and your wife Judy both have this really high energy, positive energy, and humorous. Where does that come from? Because me being 23, like I have a lot of days where I'm just dragging ass, and you guys look like you haven't had one of those in the past 2 decades.
Well, Judy, like I say, she's in the trenches. I'm out there and walk on stage. Oh, you love me. And she's up there dealing. Well, okay, there's a discrepancy in the head count. And so she has to kind of deal with the business end of it. And but like I say, it's she's a very positive person, and we've been married 33 years, right?
Last 2 weeks haven't been too bad.
But we're here all week. Try the veal. But I feel very, very fortunate and grateful. Like I say, we've been with Judy taking care of it, like I say, of the business end and doing that. And like I say, she's a very positive person. But there are things, like I say, the business, as the music business is, it can be sorted, and there's some weasels in it and everything. But we've been very, very fortunate to have each other's back, to do that.
Yeah, and kind of following up on that with the positive energy and the humor that you have, how much do you think that's helped you be a fun act to watch on stage?
Well, I have fun with it. It's still a joy. Like I say, I'm an old cat. But I mean, I feel very fortunate to have seen, Lightning Hopkins and Mance Lipscomb and Freddie King and Bob Wills, and hang out with, and like Towns, man, an incredible songwriter. But on stage, he was, earlier on, but he was witty and had, you would get this rapport with the audience. Same thing with the Mance Lipscomb. I just see him. He'd get on stage. He would just talk and be a part of it. So it's still a joy for me to have fun. I mean, I got some, patter. I guess
Good word for it.
Stage patter, some bits that I do, and like I say, I'm telling some story about something one time, and all of a sudden the audience is laughing at the wrong time, and I'm going, so I'm telling this story, and all of a sudden they're laughing. I go, what's going on? And all of a sudden, I think it was Green Hall or somewhere, I look over and there's a mirror on the side of the deal, and all of a sudden Kyle, my drummer, is throwing, Tic Tacs at Lucas. And Lucas is trying to catch him in his mouth while I'm telling my story. And I'm going, what? It's just, so, really.
There's a lot of chaos going on up there.
But it's still a joy. I mean, it has to be fun in order to do it. But, the traveling sometimes can wear you out. And, and there's... Still, there's still some gigs that are sometimes they're a little sketchy, sometimes and everything. But like I say, it's still a joy to be able to do it.
Yeah. When the travel does start to get to you, is there certain things that you remind yourself of to get yourself back in the mood?
To stay grateful. I think as that song, the Mother Blues thing is, the days that keep my gratitude higher than my expectations. Because usually expectations is going to lead to a resentment because I expect people to act a certain way and they don't, so I get resentful. So I try not to have too much expectations.
Yeah.
And keeping grateful, very grateful for where I am and my family and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you got that quote on a T-shirt, which is super, super cool. I think it's
Which
a great
is,
shirt.
I think it's at raywiley.com on the merch page.
Yeah, somewhere right around there. Yeah, / shop.
Give these people a moment to write that down. raywiley.com. Okay.
You guys got it? All right, cool. Good stuff. It is really cool. I do like it a lot.
Yeah.
It's cool because, you're an amazing musician, but anybody can wear that shirt, whether they know about your music or not. Someone can find that, wherever and be into that.
I hope so. Yeah, it's very important, I think.
Absolutely. And so the final question I have here before we get to the rapid fire kind of stuff. You're working on a new record?
Yeah, we're working with Jonathan Tyler Studio over at Sam's Town, and Lucas and Kyle and Drew playing bass, and a young kid named Tobin out of Nashville who's a rock and roll Keith Richards guy. He and Lucas just wham, So we're doing the record. It's pretty. Don't have a title yet, and it's all pretty. Not a lot of guests on this, and we did co-starring and then co-starring too, and I think. Well, that's enough,
Yeah.
I mean, I have no more friends I can exploit. So, but yeah, so we're doing that. Hopefully, probably out in the spring.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
awesome. Definitely have to be on the lookout for that. We got so many of these backlog. This might come out right in time for the spring. That'll be great. All right, cool. So for the next part of the show, I'm going to jump to kind of like this or that questions. So I'll give you two options. First one that comes to your mind.
Okay, start over again. What is it?
Okay, so for the next part of the show, I'm going to jump to this or that questions.
This or that. Okay.
So for example, it would be acoustic or electric.
Oh, okay. And I would go acoustic.
Perfect. So just like that.
Or I'd go electric.
Depends on the night.
Okay, yeah.
And so yeah, whichever one you pick, that's
okay.
Just kind of get to know you maybe a little bit even outside of the music. The
All
first
right.
thing I want to know is if you could be a professional at anything outside of music, which would it be?
A cartoonist.
Cartoonist.
Yeah.
I think you would have a lot of success in that.
Yeah,
to be honest with you. Do you go for style or comfort?
Comfort.
Mm-hmm. You like
and style. I mean,
you're definitely
look at my hat.
Yeah, you're definitely stylish. I
Yeah.
would say you're pretty stylish for sure.
I say, probably comfort. Now style, I guess.
Yeah. Let's see. If you're going out and you're grabbing some cash to spend, would you rather have 520s or a $100 bill?
Well, it used to be $100 bill because but we're not going to go into that. But probably the 20s. The 20s, yeah.
Gotcha.
Drops money everywhere.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Drops money everywhere.
So Judy over here.
When he was drinking, his band told me that they made more on following him behind so we don't let him carry a lot of cash.
Yeah, I know.
Because he pulls his pick out or
just
drops money everywhere.
Yeah.
But playing with Ray is great. You get paid really well, especially if you just follow right behind him the whole night.
Yeah.
That's how you get those tips. That's awesome. Fight or flight?
Do what now?
Fight or flight?
Oh, flight. Yeah.
Getting the hell out of there. Yeah, so Judy's the fighter, and Ray runs and has her deal.
Yeah, I'd bind her. Yeah.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody likes tea. So nobody likes tea. Okay, would you rather go camping or stay in a nice hotel in the city?
Probably a nice hotel in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, my idea of roughing it's no ice cubes.
Don't cut the rocks.
Yeah,
That's about as tough as it
Yeah,
gets.
really.
Big venue or small venue?
Big venue, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it depends. There's been some big venues that were kind of sketchy, and then there's some small venues that are just great. So it's kind of one of those things. As the band, we can do acoustic, if we need to, or we can, rock out if we need to. And everything. So yeah, it depends on the gig.
Gotcha. If you had to pay for the subscription to keep the blue check on Twitter, you paying or not paying?
I'm not paying. I mean, I don't care if I'm, what is it, verified? Is that what it is?
Yeah, verified.
I never care about being validated, But no, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I'm
Ray, I can't thank you enough for doing this for us.
Oh man, you bet. Well, you guys, South Austin Music's been really, really good to me. And musicians come in if I need to borrow an amp or something. You guys are there, and sold some guitars for me. So you guys, and everybody that works here is good. It's I have yet to walk in the door and have someone say, "Hey, dude, can I help you?"
Just wait.
Oh yeah.
We got a new guy out there. He'll take care of that for you. Man, seriously though, this was so much fun.
Oh,
it was a
It
pleasure.
was for me too.
Everything I hoped it would be, and I really appreciate you coming
You bet.
on. Thanks, Ray.
Oh, you bet.
Awesome, man.
So we're gonna do a song?
Yeah. If I can
Okay.
get you to stay for a performance, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet.
You want to jump over here? All right. Well, woman I love is named Ramona. She kinda looks like a tempest storm. She can dance like a little Egypt. She works down the Snake Farm, Snake Farm. It just sounds nasty, Snake Farm. It pretty much is Snake Farm. It's a reptile house, Snake Farm. Ooh. Ramona's got a keen sense of humor. She got a tattoo down her arm. It's of a python eating a little mouse, wearing a sailor hat that says Snake Farm, Snake Farm. It just sounds nasty, Snake Farm. It pretty much is Snake Farm. It's a reptile house, Snake Farm. Ooh. I asked Ramona how come she works there. She says, well, it's got its charm. There's nothing to do in the winter, and now that some kid gets bit at the Snake Farm. I said, Snake Farm, it just sounds nasty, Snake Farm. It pretty much is Snake Farm. It's a reptile house, Snake Farm. Ooh. Ramona likes malt liquor and a band from Wales that was called The Alarm. She said she cried when they broke up, still plays the records at the Snake Farm, Snake Farm. It just sounds nasty, Snake Farm. It pretty much is Snake Farm. It's a reptile house, Snake Farm. Ooh, ow. Sometimes Ramona calls me up, says, come on down here, it's getting warm. And she runs everybody off, and they're at the Snake Farm. Snake Farm, it just sounds nasty, Snake Farm. It pretty much is Snake Farm. It's a reptile house, snake farm. Ooh, oh, snake farm. It just sounds nasty, snake farm. It pretty much is snake farm. It's a reptile house, snake farm. Ooh.
I'm so glad I got those. Yeah,